Hey everyone, today I thought I'd show you my ancient Egypt shrine. This video goes out to Porcelain Purgatory, who is into ancient Egyptian stuff, and also IcySync, who asked me like a year ago to do bookshelf tours, and I have a lot of shelves with a lot of things, not necessarily books. So let's make this like the first one in a series of me eventually showing you all my little shelves. You can see a few others up here. Ancient Egyptian thing. I'm sorry the lighting's not great. This is kind of a small space. We are in my wardrobe with like my punk rave kimono, and the bathroom is right on the other side, and I opened it to try and get some more lighting, but we might get a bit of echo from a bathroom, so yeah, not the greatest space to record in, and I'll get us a little bit closer when we're actually looking at this stuff. But so yeah, I collected this ancient Egyptian stuff, oh gosh, must have been maybe like 10 years ago, maybe. Like early on in my YouTube, if some of you guys have been watching me for a long time, you remember like, I had a real struggle coming to terms with atheism. I started becoming an atheist like in primary school, I think, but in high school it really messed me up. And so I spent a lot of time looking for other beliefs and spiritualities and just like anything that could fill that hole where I was just like, you know, I need a meaning to life. Now I don't really have that problem these days. I am still dead and empty inside and like a pretty dull atheist, but yeah, no, I went through this whole process. So if you remember back then, I would talk about I would actually interview people who were vampires and otherkin and all that. So this is kind of like an extension of that interest for me. But yeah, so must have been about at least like around 10 years ago where this was really sort of getting to the top. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! On TV when I was younger, had all those Egyptian themes, really kind of butchered, like, anime interpretation, but, yeah, and then, oh, let me quickly get this book and show you what one of the things. So, when I was younger, I actually got into Greek mythology first, and my grandma got me this book, and I think this is the first one she gave me because it's pretty, like, you can see I've read it a lot. So she got me a second copy, like a clean version, because this one was, yeah, looking a bit worn out. I don't know where that second version is gone. I must have given it away or something, because, you know, I don't really need to. So I used to read this all the time, but then I think around the time that I was getting into the ancient Egyptian thing, I also got this one. I don't remember if she gave it to me or if I went out and bought it, so, you know, same sort of series. So when I'm talking about this ancient Egyptian stuff, one thing it's important to remember is that I will be giving you my interpretation of ancient Egyptian mythology, so it's not necessarily going to be what the historical consensus is. I'm going to be heavily influenced by the tales in this, because this is the pretty much like G or PG rated. Some ancient Egyptian myths are just like the kinds of stories I would never want to repeat out my own mouth, so you can look up some of them if you're interested. But yeah, so I'll give my own interpretation. I'm also going to give you my own pronunciations, because no one knows for sure what ancient Egyptian sounded like. I'm not sure what the current academic consensus is, because it's been a long time since I've really dug in and followed this kind of stuff. This isn't one of my older obsessions. But I know if some of you guys watch Crash Course Mythology, they call this one tote, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not calling it tote, partly because like I cannot unhear that, you know, buy our tote bag, that it's just associated that with merch for me. And also when it's spelt Thoth, my brain just says thoth, and we're going to deal with that. It's just, I'm going to call it thoth, so my pronunciations are going to be pretty awful. But yeah, I guess enough of me setting it up, really, and we should just get into it, and I will tell you my stories and why I got all this stuff, especially me being an atheist. Like, even when I got into all these kinds of things, I've never actually believed anything, but I think the main thing for me is when I got into a lot of this stuff, for me it was like symbolic and using things as memory tools, but we'll get into that in a moment. And yeah, let me just change the camera angle so we can see things closer and less of my face. Okay, so yeah, here's a close-up of my ancient Egyptian shrine. Now, a lot of this stuff I actually got from a shop Maybe like the next suburb over from me, there's this guy he's actually from Egypt and he sells a lot of stuff, and I used to go in there and spend ages talking to him. He's actually a Coptic Christian as well, so he had a lot of that kind of stuff, and yeah, interesting dude. A little bit overpriced, but yeah, there's nowhere else near me that sells this much ancient Egyptian stuff that you can go and see in person. Like, I would have to go online to buy it, or I saw this sort of thing in America when I went in, what was it, end of 2006. Yeah, so anyway, most of this stuff I think I got from him, and one time he gave me this ruler for free, and I didn't want to use it like at uni or anything because I was worried it'd get kind of scratched up and damaged, so it's just like been part of my shrines. I used to have the shrine on like a little table and it was underneath, but now it's up the top, so that's that. Yeah, so I guess we'll start off with Anubis in the center. I've got two forms of Anubis. Now, why Anubis? Well, so Anubis is the jackal-headed god, which to me is like relatively close to a dog, and I like dogs. I'm a puppy person. So, yeah, but the main thing about Anubis is he's the guide of the dead. Why don't I give you some close-ups, hey? So yeah, Anubis is the guide of the dead, and I think for me, the significance of that is like being depressed a lot. I felt like, you know, I was kind of already dead, and so, you know, particularly when you take into account that my dogs are great emotional support and all that, yeah, it sort of feels like a symbolic thing for that, and you know, the association with death and all that. I think the whole death thing is one of the reasons I like ancient Egyptian mythology so much. Yeah, partly because of the depression, but also like, you know, I've always had like that sort of dark aspect to myself. And yeah, I mean, I know like most of those religions have some kind of death culture. But yeah, something about the ancient Egyptian one just works better for me, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. Yeah, I'll show you this one as well. So this one stands a little bit wonky, but yeah, pretty cool. I think this one might have actually been my very first ancient Egyptian little figure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my grandma got me this one. I think she got a few things for me. Yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, so death. It's a little bit hard to remember all this stuff because, you know, it was when I was younger, and my memory has sort of faded a little bit. But yeah, that whole Guide of the Dead, me feeling like I'm already dead. Oh, maybe one of the things about ancient Egyptian culture is like the way they approach the whole afterlife thing. So, you know, one of the ways that you come back from the dead is if someone remembers you, and that's why they used to write all their names in stone and protect them with the cartouche and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, with me thinking like, what's the point of life? I'm just living, and then I'm going to be dead, and the universe will forget me in the blink of an eye, right? But if I can leave behind some kind of legacy and people remember me after I'm dead, at the time I was like, I guess that is something I could substitute for an afterlife, so I think that might be part of why I went for the ancient Egyptian thing. Yeah, anyway, moving on. So the next god we have is, well, goddess Sekhmet. So she's the lion-headed goddess. Yeah, same sort of thing as the Anubis one in this form. Must be made by the same people. And yeah. So, I mean, some of you who've been following me for a while, you remember when I was a violent little shit, yeah? So Sekhmet, she's the goddess of war. And yeah, there's some interesting tales about her, like, I don't remember the reason for her killing spree. I think the gods actually set her loose to kill a bunch of people who, it might have been a bit like, you know, a Noah's Ark kind of thing where you try and kill all the bad people, but I don't 100% remember the myth. But anyway, she went on such a rampage and got so carried away that they could only stop her by pouring out like some wine that looked like blood and getting her drunk, or maybe it was beer that they colored. I don't know. One of those things. They got her drunk, and then she turned into Hava, who's like the goddess of fertility and actually a cow. So it's kind of funny that a lion turned into a cow, but no, for me, I got her for being the goddess of war because, yeah, that's kind of me, isn't it? And then on the outside, these two black-colored ones, they're both different forms of Horus. Now, one thing you've got to remember with ancient Egyptian mythology is that quite, like, you know, the culture and the religion lasted thousands of years, so things sort of changed and morphed, and being polytheistic, you know, depending on where you lived, you might have worshipped a different god, and been part of a different cult, and then beliefs mixing and all that. So they actually fuse gods together sometimes, or they'll call them like the same god, they'll give different names, and it all gets very confusing. So all this stuff is quite fluid. So I mean, the easy one to look at is Horus in falcon form. Sorry, a bit hard to focus, but yeah, Horus in falcon form. I don't remember exactly why I got Horus, maybe just because he's one of those top gods, really. Yeah, falcon. So, you know, one of the gods of the sun eventually became a bit fused with Ra, so their myths kind of overlap a bit, and yeah, so this is Horus in the falcon form, but Horus also has taken the form of the Bennu bird, which is essentially the Egyptian version of the phoenix. And in that book that I showed you, you know, there's a story about him going into the underworld to train with his dad, who got chopped up by Set, or, you know, yeah, went to the underworld to train so that he could come back and defeat Set. And when he came back in the form of the Bennu bird, which is like the whole rebirth phoenix kind of thing. So that's kind of interesting because, like, I actually like a lot of the dark gods of ancient Egypt. So what, Apophis, I think that's the Greek name, but Apophis was that, like, dark serpent that swallows the sun every now and then, and also Set. It's very hard to find good depictions of them, though, and I've got my own personal interpretations of them, which probably won't be depicted in any mainstream form. But yeah, and you know, so I like that dark stuff, but I also have the whole duality obsession, so of course we're going to go for dark and light, and you know, here we've got the darker gods on the inside, and then we have the light on the outside. But yeah, I'm sorry, I don't remember if I had any more specific reason for Horus, except maybe, like, you know, me being also a power-hungry little shit, and being like, I want one of the bosses. And, you know, with Horus sometimes being associated with Ra, like, you know, you could call that Ra if you wanted. Ra also took a bird of prey form from time to time. So, yeah. Now, this one you're looking at, and you're like, isn't that the Sphinx? Like, why are you saying this is both forms of Horus? But, so, I mean, again, depends where you're getting your mythology from. Sorry, trying to focus. Yeah. So we got a little inscription on the front there. A bit small to read, I'm not sure. Yeah, so that's the Sphinx. I think that might be the artist name on the back. There's another inscription. Oh, is that another artist name? I'm not sure. Anyway, so the Sphinx, like, what is it? So the name that I use is Harmachis, but I think that is also the Greek version of the name. It was like, I don't remember the other name for it, but basically translated to Horus on the horizon. So it's like the rising sun, I think. I don't think it's the setting sun. I'm pretty sure it's the rising sun. And so in that form, Horus can take the shape of the Sphinx. And the Sphinx has its own story, particularly like how, I think it was it Tutmosis IV or whoever dug the big Sphinx at Giza up. There's a whole story you can look into there, which is pretty cool. But in the story, in that book, yeah, the sort of PG-rated book, Harmachis is portrayed as a second character, and is essentially helping, like, babysitting Horus when he's younger, and also helping him in his quest to fight back against Set. Yeah, so, I mean, for me also, I like balance, so having the two dark-coloured ones really works. And then they happen to be different forms of the same god. I'm like, sweet, yeah, let's go for that. Okay, so now this one, Thoth. I'm calling it Thoth. You can be upset with that all you like, but that's how I'm going. This one is, so all the other ones, they're quite solid feeling. I don't know what these are made out of, but they feel fairly heavy, whereas this one's quite light. I think it's pretty much just, that's like just a light wood, and then we've got, I guess, some kind of copper that's been colored, or yeah, very light kind of thing. One of these legs moves a little bit, so it's probably not the best constructed one, but you know, I'm pretty sure I bought this one for myself, so my money, I've always been a little bit tight for money, just that's how I was raised, to be careful with money. But yeah, so Thoth, the ibis god, in ibis form, I know, bin chicken if you're an Aussie watching this. And the reason I got this one is, I think I might have got these even further back than 10 years, because I would have been doing my HSC. I got this one, I'm pretty sure, during my HSC, and put it on my desk. And the whole point of that, like, I don't believe Thoth is the god of wisdom and learning and knowledge and all that, and I don't believe in any of this stuff, right? But for me, it was just sort of a reminder to keep studying, because, you know, I do get quite distracted, and even back then I used to get distracted. I'm worse now, I think. But yeah, just to sort of like had it on my desk so that every now and then I glance over, and just to use it as a sort of mental trigger, I guess, to be like, oh, I should be studying, and, you know, like, get focused. So that was sort of like a memory thing for me. So even though I don't personally believe any of these have any power, they don't exist, they're just like things our ancestors came up with, you know, to explain the world they were living in, and, you know, get their power structures sorted. You know, I have a very you know, unmagical view of the world. But you can still use these kinds of symbols as memory triggers, and I think that's what they're actually good for, or at least that's how they helped me. So, yeah, even though it's like one of the cheaper ones, and, you know, yeah, and I like the whole idea of Thoth as, like, wisdom, because I'm always trying to absorb information. That's just how I am. I absorb information until I'm absolutely bored with the topic, because I've destroyed all the magic in it. You know, like when I was into robotics, that's why I lost my interest in robotics, because the whole magic of AI just, like, died once I understood how things like Aibo experience the world. Anyway, back on the other side, so this god, I think this is another example of ancient Egyptians sort of mixing up their gods, because, like, you know, I think most of you at the first glance would be like, oh, that's Isis, but there are actually a few different winged gods, and to me this headdress, I mean, it's a bit vague, but to me that looks kind of like Hathor. So, you know, the post-slaughter version of Sekhmet is kind of fun, how you've got a war turning into love, because, you know, they're both quite turbulent, aren't they? Yeah, so I'll show you the other side. There's no clear signs other than the headdress to be able to identify this one. But considering that a lot of the gods did become fused, like Isis did become associated with Hathor, and, you know, there's a bunch others, you can really just, I personally think you can just make them be whoever you prefer to interpret. So I wouldn't get too stressed about that. But I think, you know, I mean, I realized all the others are boys. I've got a bunch of boys. Oh, except for Sekhmet. I'm not sure which one I got first, but this was one of my attempts to get a little bit more female in there. But for me, I interpret this one as, I think, well, Isis is pretty badass, but I also appreciate the Mart in a depiction in this. So Mart was another goddess often depicted with wings, and she's the one in the you know, when you're going through the process to get into the afterlife, Mart is responsible for the feather of truth, and, you know, that feather that your heart is weighed against. So, yeah, and like, you know, that's another one of those underworld associated things. And I also find it very difficult to lie. You know, if I'm trying not to hurt someone's feelings, I might just, like, omit something rather than outright lie. Even, like, a white lie I struggle with. So I can be very careful with my language sometimes. So when you've got things like the feather of truth, that suits me. So yeah, for me, sort of like a Mart, Isis kind of thing. I think there's another one of the more primordial goddesses, maybe like, is it Nut? Nut, the goddess of the sky, I think, that sometimes is depicted with wings. So, you know, there's a lot that you can read into this form, I feel. But yeah, for me, Isis and Mart. She looks a bit grumpy, doesn't she? Hey, I don't know, I can't really get that focused enough so you can see how grumpy she looks, because I am also grumpy, but hey, whatever. Yeah, but you can see I've got a bit of a male bias. That's just been me since forever, like even with, you know, regular fiction, I tend to have a male bias. Anyway, so the stuff in the background, this would be the box that this came in. So I just kept that as a background, and then a couple of the others, I think these two would have come in these boxes, and they're actually the same box, they just have a different different designs on them. So actually I'll pull one out so you can see. So this one I'm showing this side, and then you can see just the hint of that on the corner, and then there's that, which is the same as the one in the background there, and then it's got another one there. So yeah, I just thought I'd show the two different sides of that as part of my little Egyptian shrine. And while we're here, I'll show you this thing that I had on top. So I think probably when my grandparents went to Egypt, they got this for me. And so it's this like transforming cube. Which way are we going? So you get all these like pictures of, which side are we on? I'm not sure actually. Hang on. We'll get back to where the picture is. Okay, here we go. Here's another picture. And there. And, well, that's the one that I keep it on most of the time. I guess this is where all the main pictures are. Yeah. Anyway, so I tend to keep it on this one because it's got Anubis. You know, I think he's guiding someone there, or someone's giving him offerings. I don't 100% remember everything. Anyway, so that's that. Oops, I keep bumping that. Now we've got this. I'll show you my jewelry, my Egyptian jewelry another day because, you know, this video will just go too long. But in here, this one I keep separately, and you'll see why if I can untangle it. It's like, okay. So the chain I think I put on myself, but what this one is, this is Anubis, but as you can see, the scepter is very thin and fragile, so I think I did try to wear it once and it bent, and I had to bend it back, and when you bend metal too much, eventually it breaks, so I don't wear this one. I just keep it in this little satchel so that it stays safe, which it's a bit of a shame because I would like to wear it, but yeah, it's too fragile. So, yeah, cool. Put it back in there. Now up here, I think this might have been another one from my grandparents, but I don't know, people give me gifts every now and then, and I'm very bad at remembering who gave me what. So, I guess this is the way you view it. It's got two eyes. Now, I'm not sure if they're the Eye of Horus or the Eye of Ra. I'm not sure if there's a distinction there. I think it used to be like, I used to think it was based on which direction they're facing, but you can actually turn hieroglyphs around depending on which direction you're reading them. So, without any indication of which direction you're meant to read this, I can't tell who's it's meant to be. But yeah, cute. Just kind of don't have any space. So I'll put that up there. Maybe like that so you can see the different colors. Actually, I forgot this one, didn't I? This is another gift someone gave me. It's just a cat. Might be another one from my grandparents, actually. I don't know, they used to go to, like, art places and buy me stuff like this, because they knew I was into ancient Egypt. Mainly my grandma. She did at one point get worried I was into witchcraft for, like, some other stuff that I asked her for, but, yeah, no, apparently ancient Egyptian stuff was okay, which is fun, because she was a really strong Catholic, and I don't know why she didn't worry about me becoming an ancient Egyptian pagan, but hey, there you go. Yeah, so just a generic cat. I don't think it has any meaning, but I keep it together because, you know, someone gave it to me, and yeah, it's kind of cute. It fits the theme. Now, over here, yeah, I think most of this my grandparents gave to me, and some of it's actually from Egypt, I just don't remember which. I'm not sure what this one is. It's sort of like, hang on. Yeah, it's sort of, I mean, it's a key ring, but the face is kind of scratched, so I don't know exactly who that is. It might be one of the monotheistic pharaohs. What is it, Akhenaten? Yeah, I just think that because that looks like that sort of swollen belly they had, but yeah, I can't tell exactly who this is, so yeah, I don't know. That's the problem when people buy stuff for me. I'm very meaning focused and symbolism focused, so yeah, when I don't buy it, I don't necessarily know what it means. I tend to buy stuff that I know what it means. So this is a bracelet. I used to wear a bit, but you know, it doesn't really sit the way that I want it to sit, so I tend not to, but it's got the Ankh, and I think, is that a lotus or something? I'm a bit vague about that, but yeah, I used to wear it a lot. I think the life symbolism used to be important for me, but I don't remember exactly why, unfortunately. Maybe, no, I've got no idea. I mean, sometimes I used to wear different things, like when I was unwell, just as like a mental thing, you know, to try and get me better, because placebo effect can work even when you know something is a placebo. Back here we've got a pen. Pretty sure the ink ran out a long time ago, but you know, standard Egyptian dude. They've even got the left foot slightly forward, which is respect for the pharaoh and the gods, so that's pretty cool detail to have in a pen. Yeah, and so it ran out of ink, and now I just keep it up the back as a little dude. And then on the side here I've got some stickers. Now I think that's blue tacked on. Can I grab it out? Hang on, I'll take you a bit closer. Just give me a moment. Okay, so yeah, I don't know who gave me these stickers or where I got them. They're a little bit fancy, like that's actually a 3D kind of thing with those pyramids. And whenever I have stickers, I have a really hard time using them because like once you use them, that's kind of it. And I like to keep stuff. If some of you remember, like I tend to buy chocolate and then not eat it because I prefer to have the chocolate rather than eat the chocolate. I don't know, I'm a weird hoarder like that. So yeah, anyway, so we've got a queen. I'm not sure which queen because it's been so long I've kind of forgotten. Yeah, who's that? Is that Mart? I don't know, it's just like that looks a bit wonky, so it's hard to tell. We've got a little Ankh, we've got the Eye of Horus or Ra. What's that down there? That's like one of those winged discs or something, you know, in the shape of the bird with wearing the disc. The scarab beetle. Did you have another name? I forget. It's sort of a Tutankhamun kind of mask. Generic dude, pyramids, blah 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 blah. And yeah, I can't use them because I'm that kind of hoarder. Anyway, so I think that covers pretty much like my ancient Egyptian shrine and like why I bought things, and hopefully I've done an okay job at like, you know, the symbolism and the meanings and all that. But yeah, it has been a really long time and I kind of just made this video because I've been waiting for the next Punk Rave Australia thing to come in, and I was hoping it'd come this morning so I could film today, but yeah, no, I'm still waiting. So I kind of just made this video on like a whim, so I didn't prepare anything. Yeah, so if you want to ask me some questions, maybe that'll jog my memory and I can, you know, tell you a bit more. And yeah, if you want to see my ancient Egyptian jewelry, I guess I can do that another time, but we've already gone on for so long, as I always do. But yeah, ancient Egypt used to be one of my little obsessions for a bit, and yeah. Cool. I don't think I have anything more to say, so I hope you enjoyed this. And also, yeah, I'll show you some other shelves at some point. I've got to dust them off. Like, this one I probably keep the most dusted, just because, like, I mean, I don't believe in the spirituality, but I guess it's sort of like a subconscious respect thing for, like, the gods. Whereas, like, you know, Pokemon, that's just Pokemon. They don't care if they're dusted or not. And, oh my god, the state of my Lugia is so bad. I don't know how I'm going to clean that before I show it to you, so maybe I'll just have to live with my embarrassment. Maybe if you zoom in, you can already see the problem. Yeah, I've got so many shelves. It'll take me a while because I've got so many other videos I want to do. I want to do some more music videos, and, you know, I've got the punk rave video coming up, and then, oh my god, I feel like I've got so much going on, and if I could only stop procrastinating, I'd get more of it done. But anyway, yeah, my ancient Egyptian shrine. I could elaborate more on other things I've thought internally about ancient Egypt. I mean, if you know my whole Destroy America story, oh my god, and there's also that RPG I used to do when I was in school that had a lot of ancient Egypt themes. So yeah, this goes back. This obsession must go back about 20 years for me. Yeah, because I had a whole story set in Egypt, and then beyond that as well. And these are things I don't think I've ever talked much about on YouTube, so yeah, I'm not sure how to tell the story without making me sound even crazier than I am, but maybe one day we'll get to that, and I'm gonna shut up before I tell you any more of my secrets. Yeah, see you later, guys. I hope you liked it, and I don't know, what am I supposed to say? Like, share, subscribe, comment. There's too many things that YouTube wants me to say, like, you guys should do. And if you're still here to the end of the video, you're probably one of my regulars anyway, so I love you guys. Yeah, cool. Leave me suggestions as well if you really want me to get onto something, but I do have a whole bunch of No, I said I was gonna shut up, alright? Yeah, tell me to shut up. Okay, I'm going. Bye, guys.